vehicle. It is not likely that they will try to pit this at this speed right now with the amount of traffic that's going on. You see that they're passing that big rig there, so that gives you an idea that this is not a slow chase right now. So there is a bit of congestion on this, but at least 2 occupants in this truck have not shown any signs that they will pull over. Now, when we were watching it, there was not anything in the manner of reckless driving per se. But again, at that point, there wasn't any rubber on the front tire. So the person was having to pretty much stay in a very straight line. So now you have 2 CHP officers in the 1 and 2 lane there. So they will be able to, if they want, close in on this vehicle fairly quickly. You'll notice that nobody is coming up from behind, so there's likely not going to be any traffic coming up from behind this vehicle unless they somehow merge on. But one of the things to remember that axle is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So when this vehicle stops, there is the likelihood that that front engine compartment could catch fire. So we're going to watch and see what happens as this concludes. You know, and if you're on the eastbound 60, you will, when this ends, you will likely see a heavy police presence. So they might be able to clear it very quickly, but it might take them a minute as well. But this person is actually passing some traffic. Maybe if we can pull out just a little bit wider and kind of give you an idea as what's going on in front of this vehicle and behind. We've seen the damage to the front. So it's wide open in front of this vehicle. There's nothing in the way of traffic, so to speak. And if you notice that pickup right there pulls over out of the way and is letting officers go by. So at least the people in front are not being surprised by this vehicle at high rates of speed coming up behind them. So at this point, we're kind of waiting to see exactly what CHP will do. They have passed Moreno Beach at this point, again on the 60 eastbound, and you can really see the sparks flying underneath that vehicle. It is pretty much driving on the axle on the front because, again, the wheel has collapsed. And it is just, there's no control for the driver of this vehicle. So you would think the CHP might just kind of let this front engine weight down that axle and it will cause it to break. And once it breaks, they'll just have to stop. But that's what I'm talking about with the passenger side. Just kind of holding his hand out the window. Nothing, don't know if that's just being casual and just waiting for this to end and just taking a cavalier attitude to what's happening. But you can see the front wheel, they're kind of, it's very close to that axle just breaking and falling apart. So now they've passed Redlands is what we're getting word from the desk. So thank you very much on that. But again, just nothing in the way of control. So the vehicle is just going to have to maintain that straight line as much as possible. And you see the sparks and the smoke. So we don't know necessarily what started this chase. We just know simply that it started in the Rancho Cucamonga area. It was in Baldwin Park at one point, Santa Ana. They did set up a spike strip. Now I'm seeing that they did set up a spike strip. So that is likely what caused the damage to the wheel on the front, the tire on the front. Did not get both tires on the front. I don't believe, I do believe on the left, the driver's side, that the tire is still there, but certainly they did take care of it on the passenger side. So at some point we've heard there are 2 people at least in this. There could be, I guess, somebody sitting in that passenger side. Okay, they've moved over lanes here. So we're kind of seeing exactly what's going to happen, because once a vehicle starts to try to steer without tire on that front wheel, you can lose control and spin out quite quickly. So it does seem as if they've slowed down a bit, certainly not catching up with traffic in front of them. You can see the traffic in front. We'll see if this suspect will at some point just finally surrender and pull over. It seems as if he's going about 65 miles an hour and lost more of the vehicle. You see some of the axle kind of falling apart. Now you start to see sparks all the way under the back end of this vehicle. So that is just heating up. So the vehicle is just really heating up, and it is bouncing around. So you can tell it is Very difficult to control. Now somehow I've turned on the hazards. As to why, not quite sure. But still going fast enough to maintain pace with the big rig in front, that UPS truck there. Not certain. There's some work crews there on the side. So if this thing stops and he catches fire, it's going to make it difficult for an orderly custody situation for CHP. Normally, they'll want to have these guys slowly get out of the vehicle and as you've seen in the past, walk back towards them. But look at the smoke now. So this thing has really started to heat up, and at some point inside that cabin, a reasonable thinking person would think that this is getting more and more dangerous. They've dropped down to about 30 miles an hour. And again, you know, you've got the fuel tank in the back. You don't want this thing to catch fire and then cause an explosion there, which would be a delay for resuming normal traffic on the 60. So now they've slowed down to a point where it's almost at a crawl, and you can see more and more of that front end just starting to disintegrate. So the axle there's got to be just zero control at this point. Look, the vehicle's overheating. I see hands out the window on the driver's side as well. Maybe he's trying to communicate, saying that he's trying to pull over. Look at now, you just see the whole axle and wheel chassis and everything just falling apart. So he's pulled over to the shoulder now, and we'll see if they just immediately get out of the vehicle. We do not know if they are armed. We do know that this would be considered a dangerous pursuit to the point that they used a spike strip to stop the person. So we have hands out the window. So it does appear as if the suspects in this chase are surrendering themselves to authorities. You see the back wheel continues to turn. I don't know if that's because he's got his foot on the gas. So we'll see how CHP handles this. Clearly, they will stop traffic on the 60 eastbound. So be aware that if you're going to be traveling that area, there is going to be a police activity here. Might even start to slow down the westbound side at Gilman Springs if you have people starting to look. So we'll see how quickly they can get the vehicle emptied, get the people out of this vehicle. So this is apparently Jackrabbit Trail, where they have stopped near Moreno Valley. And so now you can see the smoke in the cab. Not sure what he just threw out there, but threw something out. Our mat seems to be covering what was on the ground there. So let's see. The officers in general will have them come out slowly. So whatever he threw out, oh, that's the keys. He threw out the keys to the vehicle. We do not know if it was a stolen vehicle. We don't know what they were accused of doing. But now you're going to have the process of following officers' orders. They'll take this person out. He'll back up, and then they'll eventually come forward and clear the vehicle. But they're going to want to see what's under his jacket. He will maybe even take the jacket off. But they're going to... A little surprised he turned around and faced officers, in the sense they usually have them back up. Sometimes with the noise out there, maybe it's difficult for him to hear, but officers are going to make sure that there is no threat to life or property to them. But there's at least one other person in the vehicle, so they'll bring this guy back. He will lay down, and then they will probably have the other person. So again, the impact for traffic is going to be that this is going to be here for a while. So anybody that is behind this on the eastbound side near Moreno Springs, near Moreno Valley, it is going to cause a traffic scenario that you will not want to be a part of for the next probably half hour or so, because they'll have to clear this. They'll have to clear the vehicle. This will be an investigation. So they'll bring this guy back. They'll probably talk to him about how many people are in the car. They want to get as much information as they can. But eventually, the person in the passenger side will have to get out and go through the same thing that this guy did. And then they'll slowly walk up and try to clear the rest of the vehicle. We are just getting some housekeeping here on for you guys on our stream. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the second person is taken into custody and make sure nothing crazy happens here, and then we'll return you to our regular stream. But this is, again, near Moreno Valley. It's on the eastbound side of the 60. This has been probably a half hour or so chase. Let me see. The first thing that we heard on this one, or I heard, was about 9:35. So certainly we've had a half hour of this. When we picked it up, the suspect had already lost the tire on the passenger side of the vehicle, front right side. So now they're going to bring the other person out of this vehicle. Actually, we're now, okay, the locator now is Beaumont. We're being told that this is Beaumont, but we're going to wrap this up on our stream here in just a moment. We want to make sure that this second person comes out of the vehicle now, but it is the 60 East, and you will want to avoid that area if you are heading in that direction. So now this person's going to do the exact same thing you saw a moment ago. I can't tell. It does look like that is a female suspect. It could be a male. I'm not positive from the shadows. And we didn't say one way or the other. We don't know. We just knew there were two people in the vehicle. So now we don't know if this was a stolen vehicle. We don't know what caused them to get started. If we find that out, if it's relevant, we'll bring it to you a little bit later on editions of Eyewitness News. So it does look as if we have one male, one female suspect, and it does look as if this person is going to quickly be taken into custody. So we're going to wrap this up, and then we'll take you back to your regular streaming schedule. I'm Philip Palmer. Thanks for watching us. It does look like this will end without further incident. Again, 60 eastbound is going to be gummed up for just a little bit as they clear this process, and they've closed this eastbound side. The westbound side will likely, near Beaumont, see some congestion as people watch what is happening here with CHP. Thanks for watching. We'll resume the streaming now.